Welcome back to Music Rankings, Reviews, and More, and today we are back with another album review. This is another album from June 2nd. There's one more on our list that we'll be doing, which is the new Avenged Sevenfold album that should be out probably later a bit. We're still trying to catch up with the albums. There was a lot of notable releases from huge projects and bands released on that day, but today this will be the new Rival Sons record called Darkfighter. This was another album released on that day, June 2nd. We already did on another album released on that day, which was the Foo Fighters, but here we are, so you can check that out review. It's our latest video. This was a pretty interesting album for sure. The one next week should be even more interesting to talk about for sure, because that one's gotten mixed reviews. I feel like a lot of the reviews on this have been pretty consensus. Still should be interesting to see different takes on it, of course, because there's obviously two of us here, just to see how we differ and also what is similar between us. This will also be the same format as usual. We'll talk about the strengths of the album, what it does well, weaknesses, what it could improve on, the track breakdown. There are 8 songs here. It's their most condensed and short album, which is good and also could be bad depending on what type of fan you are. We'll get into the best and worst tracks in our opinion, and then we will also give our overall thoughts on the album and the final rating out of 10, which just some context there. I just rate by overall feel, and I just give a score. Christoph does the songs, but then adjust it based on the feeling kind of. So it should be interesting to see what you gave it out of 10, because I think I remember your first score, but I know you adjusted your score after, and then you also out of 10 it could be even more adjusted. So I really don't know what you're gonna give it out of 10. Yeah, we'll just see. So this should be pretty interesting. So for strengths, at least for me, there was quite a bit. Not as many weaknesses. That should change next week, though. Don't worry. For sure. Should be more on the weakness side for next week's review, I anticipate. So for strengths, I said the musicianship on this project was really good. Everyone just sounds totally, there's a lot of band chemistry happening here. There's a lot of strong, memorable guitar riffs. There's thunderous drumming that isn't derivative or boring. A lot of criticism for rock bands is the drumming is just and that is very accurate. There's not any or anything interesting happening. There's no transitions in the drums. Also, the vocals from J.B. Cannon, of course, are strong and great as usual. One of my favorite modern rock vocalists, of course. The song hooks at times are really, really good. It strikes the right balance between this acoustic, electric style, and it has a lot of good transitioning there. Not totally randomized the album we'll review next week. True. I keep throwing this album under the butt. Not this album, but the one next week. But seriously, yikes. It's also not underproduced, which is good, but it still kicks ass, so it's that nice balance again. It also knows when to include creative choices and other instruments that add flavor, so it's not just totally random. It's okay, this is a cool instrument, but it doesn't fit the song, but it usually does fit the song, which is nice. It also does sound completely like themselves. A lot of their earlier stuff gets a little bit of flack. People still really liked it, but they're this sounds a little bit closer to Sabbath or Zeppelin, which I disagree with personally, because they definitely don't copy the vocal style, whereas bands like Greta Van Fleet definitely try way too hard to sound like Robert Plant. Josh, from Greta Van Fleet, is a great singer, but tried way too hard. And also the change of pace in the album is pretty awesome and good. Weaknesses for me was that I thought this was a side A album. I feel the first 4 stronger than the last 4, but I still did really like the last 4, of course, Yeah. The best song was on side 1, and the last 2 tracks aren't as memorable for me, so that being the reason I called it a side A album. This isn't exactly another weakness, but it's the second one, only one that I wrote down, is 4 out of 8, so half of these songs were released as singles before June 2nd. So you kind of spoiled half of what you're bringing to this album, which I didn't really appreciate, because I wanted more new stuff. So I'd already really binged and heard all 4 of those tracks well before the album, right? Yeah. And so I was just kind of, I wasn't disappointed. I of course like all 8 of the songs. It's not a song I don't like. It's just the fact that they had to release half of this album before it was released, which you should only release up to 3 singles before an album. That's just my opinion. 4 singles is too many. You're just kind of spoiling too much of your album. Even with Foo Fighters, 4 out of 10 songs is almost half your album is too many.
If you have more songs, it's more understandable. I feel
now, if you have 15 songs, I get releasing 4 singles. Journey, they did that. I wasn't complaining. But Foo Fighters, 10 songs. This 8 songs. You should not be releasing 4 singles.
You don't need to spoil that much ahead of time.
Just give for this album, I would say release 2, honestly. 8 songs. It's
I feel with the current climate, because it's so much more centered around singles, for
then,
radio play and
stuff,
social media and all that. So it's you gotta release singles, get your music out there, and that's how you get popular.
Yeah, they're definitely not a band that's trying to be single ready to sell out, but it's
I understand.
They're just trying to
You do kind of have to do it. A lot of people just do not listen to full albums. I don't know why, but people have short attention spans, whatever reasons, you know.
Yeah.
Singles are just like much more. At least like some like artists only release singles, or like say like Lil Nas X, you know, so it's like single. Oh, finally I'll compile them into an album.
And then there's like bands like,
I don't
you
like
know,
that.
Nothing But Thieves. They've released 2 singles already. I'm sure they're gonna
Yeah.
release at least one more, but I'm glad because I don't actually think they're gonna release 4 because we're less than a month away till the projects, and they have that would be like 2 songs within a month. And they really did space out the time between the first single and the second single, which was good. So I have faith that they're not gonna like potentially ruin or spoil the album, you know, by like releasing too many singles. Like 3 is like at most. I think you should release more than 1 to build more hype. Like 2 is like the ideal number for me. 1 is okay. 3 is okay. 4 is a little much.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
I just feel like it's a little unnecessary a lot of the time because
it obviously depends on like the proportion of the album to like how many singles, of course. But like for an album that's like 10 or less songs, 4 singles is a no go.
Yeah, for sure. I should get into my strengths and weaknesses. So yeah, I thought the instrumentals were definitely really good.
Sure.
All the band members seemed just really good. The vocals also really good. Like I found them really strong and powerful.
Oh yeah.
I also really liked the guitar riffs; those are quite good, and the guitar solos as well. Just was good.
For sure.
Like all like musicianship and everything, really good for me. Weaknesses not too much, but for me, it was a little bit samey sounding. But I need to listen to this more. Okay, I listened to it twice. I'll
can
probably like
tell
it
the difference now, but I've also listened to this like 7 times because I was such a big fan of the
band.
But
like, this is not a bad thing. I don't think any of the tracks stand out like a ton, but like being totally different. But that's not a bad thing because they're all good.
Yeah, none of them even are like mediocre. They're all at least like good to great.
Yeah, and like so far, like as I said, instrumentals are all really good. But like, there's nothing that like totally catches me at the moment. But again, I've only listened to this twice, so like this is something that could grow on me. So it's just like
for sure.
Yeah, I just something like I might need to listen more. It's nothing that like grabbed me super much right away, but I can definitely tell like this is pretty good. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, and with more context, like they've released a pretty good amount of albums. You know, they've been around since 2009, and this isn't their best project. Their best is 2014's Great Western Valkyrie, which I'd actually give a 10 out of 10 to. I think it's like the perfect mix of like old rock that makes you feel nostalgic for like the 70s, late 60s sound, but it also is like totally modern because of the production style and the way they go about it, but not also being overproduced. So it's definitely not their best record, but I still gave it a really positive review. But we'll get to that like later, like the score and my overall thoughts. So track breakdown. Track 1 was Mirrors. So yeah, this was the opening track. You know, it opens up with some very intriguing pipe organ. I love organ in rock. Like I'm just a sucker for that because it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen that much. It's like underused.
That's true.
And it's supposed to be underused because it's not like a main rock instrument. Yeah. You don't think of rock and think of organ. You think of like guitar, bass, drums, like the basics, the you know, simple stuff. But yeah, it opens with that to kick off this newest project from the group. You know, it's shifting in between this passionate, groovy hard rock with like a memorable riff and acoustic guitar. And you can really just tell how great Jay's voice is, really powerful here, and you know also the other songs. This song really strikes a nerve of memory for a listener, and only takes a few listens before being ingrained in your brain, which I really like. Then Holiday plays a great guitar solo that is in a unique pitch to make sure listeners stay tuned in. It's probably my favorite non-single on the record because it wasn't released as a single, but it's probably my second favorite song on the album. It's just really, really good and it kicks ass. Great way to open an album for me.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with like all you said. Yeah, again, as I said, with the strengths, just the instrumentals are very good. I really like the drumming, very energetic, kind of just like really gets you in the mood. You know, again, vocals also really good. I also like the transitions were really good. Like you had like the acoustic playing, and then like the electric guitar. It's not like like Avenged Sevenfold. It's like boom. It's just like whoa. Like you gotta have a good transition. You know, I love when bands mix up like what they do in a song. You know, like acoustic to electric to acoustic, something like that, you know? But if it's done bad, it can really like put you out of the mood. It's like you can't just switch in like 2 seconds, you know? It's like you have to be gradual and like be more careful about it. And that can be really, really good. And that can be kind of hard to pull off, but like I definitely say they did that pretty good here. And again, the guitar solo also really good.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to pull off because, you know, they're switching in between this, like, and not just in this song, other songs, but especially this one, like this acoustic and electric style. But it's very, very smooth. Like they like wait a couple seconds before the vocals get in just so you can like understand what's about to happen, like you can kind of visualize it in your mind. Whereas Avenged Sevenfold just goes, and I think I'm being wow, and just like gets it. It's like whoa, chill.
You have to be more gradual.
Yeah,
like, you cannot.
You gotta
just
be more smooth with it, you know.
Yeah, either like or just don't have.
Or it has to be such a good hook that it doesn't matter that the transition isn't the strongest, but like that, yeah. So yeah, pretty good song. Track number 2, Nobody Wants to Die. So the standout here isn't actually Jay Buchanan for once. I mean, it is, but it's also not the main standout. For me, it was, Holiday with his blazing down the highway kind of guitar riff, and then Michael Miley on the drums, who truly brings the energy to this upbeat, catchy rocker. There's no question as to why this was released as a single, since it's a song that has that 70s classic rock vibe they do so well, but, with enough catchiness to hook also younger generations who maybe just won't be into that as much. But the transition from verse leading into the chorus really only works here to Miley on the drums, so shout out there. I really like the drumming on this track, and like I said, the guitar work, so that for me was the standout. But just super energetic and fast. I could totally see this as you're driving down the highway type of song, and you throw this song on, and then you get a speeding ticket for listening to this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Another really good one. Again, the guitar riff and the vocals very good, and drumming again just very energetic, and just works very well. Lyrics also kind of interesting. And like you said, it's kind of has that classic rock sound, but also more modern sound. It's a nice mix of both. Definitely you can tell more modern production and stuff like that, but it also has that classic feel as well, which is a very nice balance that can be hard to achieve sometimes. So yeah.
Yeah, that's why I like him, because it's such a great sound instrumentally, but you also get this feeling you're a part of something because it's happening here and the now. Right. It's not stuff from the 70s, it's 50 years ago, which is still great, but you just don't feel connected as the music as much sometimes with those 70s hard rock bands, because you're hey, this is totally great, but it's it's already happened before. But this the production is more modern style, but it also lets the songs kick ass and do what they're doing, right? It's not the production holds it back from kicking ass with some albums. Some of the stuff on the new Avenged Sevenfold album, No Spores, could totally kick ass and be great, but the production being underproduced as it is could hold it back. I'm just saying there's albums that are that hold things back, but this doesn't, so I'm glad.
Yep.
Track number 3. So yeah, Rival Sons here craft a fun groovy riff that is the most memorable on the album for me. And that only continues as the chorus is both introspective lyric-wise, but also catchy, keeps everyone engaged. There's a lot of styles combined in this song to make one nice earworm. It's super great. Likely my favorite song on the record for being fun, groovy, and badass all around, and also one of my favorite singles and songs of the year so far. Really just love this song. Instantly hooked for me. It's definitely my favorite of the singles and on the album, so yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah. This one was also really good. Definitely more fun sound, kind of, as you were saying. It's another one, again, I just need to listen to it more and get more used to it. But, yeah, this one's just really good again. The sound was pretty interesting. And, yeah, I don't have much to say about this track, but it was another pretty good one.
Agreed. Track number 4, for me, this was the weakest on side 1, but still pretty good. Yeah, so let's get into it. A song that, combines that use of several different guitar tones, but still makes a very complete song. You have, this low-pitched, baritone tone guitar that's kind of doing that do-do-do-do-do-do thing, in the, for the verse and, kind of at the start of the song, which is pretty cool. And then you have, this acoustic guitar, kind of just sounding like, your average acoustic guitar, but still, pretty good, still pretty clear sounding, pretty good like that. Then you have your, higher-pitched electric guitar, and then also a medium-pitched electric guitar. So this song for me really just shows the power of being creative and also having multiple players of the guitar in your band. They don't just have one guitar player that's solid. They have multiple. Obviously Holiday's their main guy. He creates all their riffs, and he's the riff guitarist guy. But it really just shows that power of having multiple guitar players in your band. So I definitely enjoyed the lyrics also on this piece for sure. A simple chorus, but honestly, that's. It's okay. It's a bit unfortunate the chorus is as simple as it is and not as interesting, but it's still pretty good because I think there's a lot of creative choices that are pretty cool here, and it's just overall a pretty good song as well.
Yeah, again, I pretty much agree with all of that. Instrumentals is really good as well. Yeah, and then the chorus being simple, it doesn't really make it worse or anything. I just think it's mixing it up a bit. Not everything has to be the same level or the same. I just think it's just pretty unique and interesting sounding. So
for sure. Yeah, agreed. So yeah, that was side A. At least there, the first 4 songs, which I thought was stronger, but not by a ton or anything. It's just I thought it was stronger. Overall.
I agree.
So yeah, track number 5, Rapture. So another song that was released as a single. Big surprise. At least half the album is a single. prior to the release date of June 2nd. This one shows the change of pace several times throughout the track. The guitar solo here is super awesome to hear. I've got to say that I'm glad they're making it a priority to put guitar solos on an album in 2023. Like, I feel like a lot of bands, even if they are, like, known as a rock band, they're just kind of not doing that as much. Like, even one of my favorite rock bands, who is definitely a rock band, but with pop elements on them, but these, they don't always have guitar solos. Yeah. But, you know, on their newest single, Overcome, it had a good guitar solo, and my dad was applauding it, because, you know, you don't always hear...
That's true.
Like, songs have guitar solos in 2023, even if they are a rock song. So I gotta applaud that at, you know, bare minimum. And then also, of course, the vocals here from Buchanan are just passionate in this progressive piece of a song. So really just a great song as well.
Yeah, again, I agree. And I love guitar solos. You know, like, there's something about guitar solos, like, they're usually obviously not super long. It's just kind of like a short but sweet thing. And it's like, they can just be really great and just really make you feel like a song more. And, like, especially now, just... You don't hear it as much. I don't know if it's like a radio thing or something, because I don't know.
Well, it's been happening less and less since the 90s. Grunge kind of like made less guitar solos be a thing.
Yeah, and like obviously you don't need a guitar solo to make great songs. Of
course,
no,
you definitely
don't need guitar at all to make a great song, but like it definitely helps, you know?
Yeah.
Like I feel like the bass line, like instrument for me to make a good song is drumming, because like almost like everything you gotta have some drumming. You know, you might not have guitar. Like you can have like drumming and piano, like 20 pilots. A lot of the stuff doesn't have guitar. It's
like,
also very
you
good.
Need real drums, not like artificial drums.
For sure, yeah.
I don't care if it's a hip hop song. There are hip hop songs with real drums, and those are the hip hop songs I generally gravitate towards.
Like,
yeah,
the sound
like,
is much more natural and clean.
Even though it's not by a hip hop group or band, Levitate by 20 Pilots, real drumming, real. Also, the psychedelic instrumentals are like so well, and it goes. With rapping. Like the down, like it's like very good.
It's just rapping.
Yeah, and it's just a rap song, and it's 2 minutes, but it gets the job done.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Is like drums are like the foundation of a lot of good songs. Guitar you can definitely do without. Also, I think another one, bass is equally as important because like artificial bass also does not sound good in songs. Yeah. How did I learn this? Chung the Nomad. Thank you. Also, fuck you too, because if you're Chung the Nomad, you're watching this piece. Sorry, but like seriously, artificial bass, no thanks.
Yeah, I just feel like with bass, it's not something I notice as much, but like
it's just as equally important.
When it's not there,
you notice.
You definitely tell.
You're just like, okay, this is like.
It's just like it's kind of the thing that blends into the song perfectly, and you might not notice it, but like when the bass,
but it sometimes is pretty noticeable. It's
it
just
can
not
be,
all the time.
It's just like it's not something that generally stands out from. Usually, like the main thing is like vocals, drums, guitar, like but like you know try to take in like all the elements and stuff. But yeah. Anyways, back to the song. Yeah. Not too much more to say about it, but I really like the instrumentals again. It had like a nice heavy sound, and great guitar solo. I love guitar solos, so what can I say?
Yeah. Moving on, track number 6. We're about 3/4 of the way through this album, Guillotine. Yeah, so the last song on this album to be released as a single. It once again has the nice change of pace that this album truly had done so well. You know, the square wave type of sound where like they kind of like distort stuff, but not in the way like grunge does. You know what I mean if you heard this song. It's kind of weird to describe. It's also kind of difficult to describe, but yeah, it's super cool. They've done it on past records and also past songs, and while they don't do it on every song, of course, you know, I do really love and appreciate it when it does happen. Then around the 2-minute and 50 mark, it turns into this progressive heavy rock tune, further proving that they're just going for so many things on this album, totally hitting on all of these things that they're trying, unlike the album that we will be reviewing next week.
Yeah.
I keep putting that album under the bus. Yeah. It's so addictive. I'm so... Like, if you've heard it, you still have to listen to it, though.
It's always fun to compare to, like, recent albums. Like, I know, like, multiple times, like, I just compared, like,
listen to that tonight, just so you can get yourself familiar. It's funny.
Like, it's just... I mean, that's why it's fun to listen
to,
like,
albums.
new
things. You can compare, like, what they do. Like, compare albums
because, like, I want to keep up with, like, you know, the modern... Like, the new music stuff that's
whether it's, like, rock, hip-hop, or pop.
I might hate it. I listened to the Lil Pump 2 album. It was terrible, but like I get to
the only album, the lowest album that I've given a score onto this channel so far, and we haven't reviewed that many albums, was literally a 5 out of 10 for me. That was like the Jonas Brothers album. But I'm sure eventually by the end of 2023 we'll have an album that I release. I mean, hey, the one next week, like spoiler, it's not going to be above a 5 for me. I know that.
Yeah,
not going to say the score though, because I don't want to spoil anything. And trust me, if you think I'm spoiling anything right now, trust me, I'm not. I wrote like. So many paragraphs of ranting on that album that like I have not spoiled like anything right now.
You have to wait to see.
Yeah, you'll have to. It should be my favorite review that I've done. It's actually my best written review of the year. So like, no humble brag. Not this one.
But like the song, don't have too much to add, but it's just I really like the heavy sounding instrumental. It's just very good, very nice sound, and it's just solid track
for sure. Number 7, Horse's Breath. Definitely one that's grown on me for sure. You know. So there's definitely quite a lot going on this 6-minute piece. It's the second longest song on the album. There's more riff stuff happening here as well as some psychedelic and prog stuff, which is pretty cool. I like it when they indulge into that because, again, they're a hard rock band, so when they do the psychedelics and progs, it's not boring to me. I'm not like, God, this is so boring. Get me out of here. Whereas, like, there's bands, I'm not going to name any names because I'll get flack, but, like, there's bands that aren't hard rock bands that are doing psychedelic or prog stuff. It kind of just, I'm like, okay, it exists. Yeah. It's a song. But there's also, outside of the psychedelic and prog stuff happening here, there's a strong pop sensibility on this song that's quite easy to pick out here. It's really just a song that lets you, like, surround yourself in the water of it all happening, and it's really good. Not the most memorable song on the album, but it is pretty good when I hear it. I'm like, this is a good song. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, that's another interesting one. It's a good point you made. It's like the psychedelic and like progressive type stuff. Because like I feel like when bands they only do that, like just progressive, like it can definitely be boring. But like especially on like an album,
I like it when it's not like their main thing.
Yeah, when it's like a nice mix. It's like you have some hard rock, you have some like psychedelic, some progressive stuff. Like you mix it in like a cohesive like blended way, and that can be really good. If you just have one element, it can still be good, but it's not as interesting. This is why like this album like it's more unique and like interesting. And, like, this song, like, I didn't love this one, but I thought it was interesting. It had, like, it was kind of atmospheric in a way. Like, the intro was interesting, and, again, the instrumentals was pretty good. I just felt like it took a little bit to really get into the song because the intro, but, again, like, it was, like, an interesting sound, kind of like that psychedelic, progressive-ish sound. So, still interesting. It could definitely grow on me. So, yeah.
Nice. Okay. Moving on to track number 8 here, last song on the album. It's a shorter album, of course. So the final track here is also the longest one at nearly about 6 minutes and 20 seconds. I find this to be the worst track on the album as it's definitely the least memorable because it's longer, it doesn't stick with you as much and isn't as creative. Yeah. And it doesn't have like these crazy riff or hook moments from Holiday on guitar that keep you coming back for more. However, don't let that get you down on this beautiful song because I think it is still really good. It's just like it's the least good, but I still really like it. I really enjoyed it. It's like the previous song, you kind of just want like the water of it all just like surround you and just kind of like, grow on you over time. I feel like essentially it's a proper closer to Rival Son's most condensed yet most focused albums, I think, to date. So, I have to appreciate the song. It's my least favorite, but that's also only because the other 7 tracks for me are like pretty equal in terms of goodness and greatness. So yeah. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, again, I pretty much agree. This was also, like, the one I liked the least, but it was still good.
I'm surprised. I don't know if I am. I feel like over the last couple album reviews, we've actually mostly agreed on, like, favorites and least favorites.
Yeah.
We've agreed on...
definitely vary.
Actually, for every least favorite, we've agreed so far. Not always on, like, our top favorites, but we usually have a couple that are similar, a couple different.
Yeah, but anyways, this was another interesting one. Again, this has, like, some nice transitions. Like, that's a very important thing throughout the album. It's, like... you have, like, the slower, more acoustic, and then you have, like, the faster, like, more energetic, and they always do a nice job of, like, transitioning. I feel like it's kind of, like, an underrated aspect of music. Yeah. Like, you don't always notice it, but when it's, like, super, like, bad transitions, you really notice it. It throws you off. So it's, like, you don't want the listener to notice your transition. If you do that, it's a good transition, because it's seamless and... Yeah.
And that's why I call it out.
It flows very well.
Obviously, if I'm listening for fun, I wouldn't notice it. But I'm trying to pick apart what the sound does well. And the transitions are clearly done well because I don't notice it as much. Yeah, because it's so smooth and flawless.
Avenged Sevenfold, you can't just
definitely notice it.
You can't just suddenly go, boom.
Especially from a reviewer's perspective. If I did not mention how terrible the transitions were on that, I would be a bad reviewer, of course. I have to mention how bad the transitions are on the new Avenged Sevenfold album because they truly suck.
I guess this is the thing that this does really well, so yeah.
Yeah, agreed. So yeah, last part is our overall thoughts, then we'll get into our best tracks, worst tracks, and our final rating out of 10. Yeah, I'm interested to hear this, so I'll go first as usual, then Christoph will go. Yeah, so overall thoughts, Rival Sons returns from a 4-year hiatus, probably the COVID hiatus thing, I don't know where they were for 4 years, the last album was 2019, kind of just seems like the COVID thing,
Yeah.
As they only started working on this in 2021, so they probably weren't together for 2020 or 2021, I would assume.
Yeah.
So yeah, they returned from a 4-year hiatus with one of their best albums they've done to date, and showing their most condensed one to date as well. The band takes the Boston approach to this record, in my opinion, and crafts 8 great tunes that stack up to their past work and work together as one cohesive album with no letdowns or weak moments that make you just like, ugh.
True.
Yeah, it's an album that knew its goal coming in and arguably exceeded it. It's an all-around kick-ass enjoyable album that may be the best, that may not be the best Rival Sons album ever, or even of this year possibly, but one that fans will surely, look back fondly upon, so that's good. Best tracks, I have 6 here, so that's most of the album.
Almost all the album.
One song I did not mention, and then one song I, obviously, because I have to pick a worst track, I mentioned that. Yeah. I'll just say the song that I didn't put on either list, which was track number 4, Bright Light. I didn't put it in either category. So for best, my 6th favorite track was Horse's Breath. That one really grew on me. I was going to put Bright Light at 6, but Horse's Breath honestly just grew on me because of the psychedelic stuff happening. Yeah. 5, Guillotine. I thought that one was really good. Top 4, Rapture. Really love that song. Yeah, and then number 3, Nobody Wants to Die. Really love that. 2, Mirrors, best non-single on the album. Loved it. Could have been a single. Really good. And my favorite, Bird in the Hand, which was a single, and it was super great and groovy. One of my favorite songs of the year. Worst tracks, Darkside. Of course, I still really enjoyed the song, but, I have to pick something as the worst, and there's only 8 songs here, so it's unlikely that something's going to suck. Nothing, of course, on this album sucked for me, but, I had to pick something, and that would be Darkside. Final rating, I'm going to go with 9 out of 10, my second 9 out of 10 of the year. Really just enjoyed this album. Definitely one I've come back to because I've obviously listened to it 7 times before this.
Yeah.
And definitely one that I'm looking forward to coming back to. The only other 9 out of 10 I've given this year was Walk Around the Moon by Dave Matthews Band. I'm looking forward to giving some more higher scores because I feel like a lot of the reviews on this channel so far haven't been that positive. I mean, they've been positive, but very light positives. Like the Minus album, for example. 6 out of 10 is not a huge album. It's I like it, but nothing more than that. Nothing more.
Yeah.
5 out of 10 is it's average, So I really did enjoy the sound. It's not a 9.5 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 because 10 out of 10 is among my favorites. 9.5 out of 10 doesn't mean it's among my favorites, but it's really, really, really enjoyable. All the songs are great. It just doesn't fall in my top 50 albums of all time. So I really did enjoy this album. It's not their best album, but it's probably in their top 3 albums. It's really, really damn good. Loved it. So that's my final thoughts, best tracks, worst tracks, and final rating.
Cool. Yeah. I agree in a lot of ways. So yeah, I just thought this is pretty good in a lot of ways. What grabbed me the most is just the instrumentals, the band playing, the vocals, all very good, very solid throughout. Just so far, I've said this a bit, the sound, it doesn't grab me as much. Again, I've only listened 2 times. This is something that could grow on me, but it's not something that's totally stuck with me or grabbed with me. But it's just overall, it's just still really solid. Yeah, I guess I'll...
Wait, can I say something before you go?
Yeah.
The way, this, I'm just saying this because the way I rate albums is not because, it's so much easier to come back to albums you love and give it a rating because you've listened to it so many times you're familiar with it. I'm rating on, based on 4 years down the road, how much am I going to love this sound? If I see potential in it, that's why, it's so hard for me to give 10 out of 10s to albums I've just heard, but I'm still willing to do that if I think this album is that good. I can definitely tell I'm going to come back to this album and Dave Matthews Band, so that's the reason they get higher scores from me. Am I going to come back to a 6 out of 10 such as an Ed Sheeran album? No.
Probably not.
No, I'm never going to come back to any Ed Sheeran album because Ed Sheeran is boring as shit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's just my, So I'm basically just giving it high scores, based on, how good I enjoyed it, and then also, the fact, in the future, am I going to come back to this? Or
yeah. And that's definitely fair. I just, at the moment, it's just kind of my initial thoughts, 2 listens, because, I feel it could grow on me, but I don't know if it will. That's my kind of, I'm kind of unsure. I need to give it more time overall, so it's just kind of, right now, it's just kind of my overall thoughts, so far. Yeah. But overall, I do still think
and I definitely kind of learned that because I gave the new Metallica album initially an 8 out of 10, which is way too high for sure now. Especially because I know it has to be lower because it's not because I was factoring in the fact if I would come back to it or not, because I knew I wasn't coming back to that for a while because it's such a long album and there's not a ton of memorable or great songs on there, to be honest. But I should have given it a lower score because an 8 out of 10 album means I'm going to probably come back to it at least a couple times throughout the year, listen to it and enjoy it. I've already come back to the Foo Fighters album a few times, listened to it way more than the new Metallica album for sure. That I still agree with that 8 out of 10 score I gave. Don't agree with the new Metallica album score I gave because I haven't come back to that, and it's been since, April?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely changed thoughts on, some of the albums I've rated, and, I go back later.
I'm just saying, I still agree with all the reviews I've given this year, except for that one, because I haven't come back to it, and that was 8 out of 10 is a damn high score for me.
That's true, it's true.
And, so is a 9 out of 10, but, also, I've already come back to this more than the Metallica album. It's also 40 minutes on this album, so it's way more re-listenable value, and they take the Boston approach, which is a great approach for re-listen value, I think. crafting 8 great songs, whereas Metallica crafted 12 long-ass songs that I'm not going to want to listen to all the time.
True.
Just
Yeah, I'll get into favorites and least favorites. So, no, there's no tracks that stand out like a ton for me. Like, oh, this is way better, this is way worse. But like,
yeah, I agree.
Overall favorites, I'd say like Nobody Wants to Die. That was a really good one. Bird in the Hand also was quite good, and Rapture. Those are about my favorites.
Nice, agreed.
And then least favorites. Again, it's not many tracks, but like Darkside just. It wasn't as interesting overall, but like so good. And then Horse's Breath, another one, could grow on me.
That one
did
grow on
find
me because I
super interesting. But again, it's not bad. None of this is bad.
For sure.
And check out my final score.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I gave this a 6.5 out of 10. But again, it could raise. The only reason, because I'm pretty sure I gave the Foo Fighters album a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed that a little bit more.
I swear you've never given like anything past a 7 for our like video reviews. Obviously, you've given like I've definitely seen your scores. You definitely give over 7s out of 10s for
like,
sure.
I feel like the Foo Fighters album could grow on me, and so this could also grow on me. But I do feel like the Foo Fighters album, it grabbed me a little bit more. Like it's more memorable as of now. So that's why I feel like I enjoyed that a little bit more. But again, both of them could grow on me. So it's not a bad score. It's just I still think it's really good overall. I just need to take some time, and it probably will grow on me. So we'll see. But that right now, like initial thoughts, that's what I think. So yeah.
Nice, yeah. All right, so that is our review of the new Rival Sons album. We kind of agree in some ways, except for the final score, which was weird because I didn't hear a ton of negatives on the sign. I feel like 6.5, 7 more negatives. I don't know. I gave like the Metallica album, obviously, like I said, 8, and I gave way more negatives. But now I'd probably drop that to a 6.5, or maybe a 6 even. I don't know what I'd give it now.
I mean, it's just kind of tough because it's initial thoughts, and like I feel like
it's also if I'm realizing I can pull way more strengths than I have. I feel like I give it like at least an 8. Like if it's like a big amount, because there's not a ton of weaknesses here.
I just feel like I know it's like really good, like the instrumentals and like how it is, like all that.
The instrumentals are like the reason why it's getting at least an 8 for me.
It's like I know like it's really good. Just like right now, I don't see this at the moment like something that I come back to super often, but like. It could go up, so
the good news is if you liked this album, you're probably gonna like the rest of the discography because
I
they definitely have morphed their sound because it definitely sounds way different than their debut, but it's all like within that nice hard rock sound that is also like familiar like for older people and older generations, but it's also like definitely newer and it has like catchy hooks. Whereas like some 70s rock isn't always about that; it's just about being great instrumentally. But this has like the best of both worlds. So
that's about it. And like I mean anything like above a 6 for me is like at least good. So like this is definitely very good. And it could go up. We'll see. But for right now, And
that's the thing. It's like hard to rate albums because there's like so many factors that like
so many factors.
You have to like
your
consider
initial
replay value, the lyrics, like also like how good has the like reception been. And like that, I don't know if that made me biased towards the new Avenged Sevenfold album because the reception has been so mixed.
It can be,
but at the same time, I it's so easy from a review perspective to see why that album sucks. It really is. For me. Like it. Yikes.
There's just so many aspects that go into reviewing albums. Like
it's true.
Like I do, like I give songs scores and I do like an average, but like I don't do that for like my overall score.
Oh, I don't even do that because then I feel like it'll make me like biased.
It helps me like organize it a little bit better and like so I can go back and like I can look at my spreadsheet and then see like
I think it helps for like favorites or least favorites, but I don't really. For me, it doesn't really help me like for. It would just make for me the reason I don't do that is I know that would make me biased.
For my overall score, I just think like overall like how good do I think this is? How am I going to come back to it? Just so many elements, but you get the point.
Right. Yeah. I mean, also another thing is like sometimes this can make me biased, but like sometimes who the artist is, it's like if I really like the artist, like I'm more likely to give it more listens. So same thing with like Rival Sons, like they're probably in my top 30 bands somewhere.
And like I haven't listened to them that much, which is also like
I totally get that.
I do need.
Like, that's the thing.
I listen to them a bit, but like that's just the thing. It's like unconscious biases. It's like obviously like I go into like everything review with an open mind, but there's going to be things that change.
I've given negative reviews to bands that I like.
Oh yeah, like I'm not.
For example, now I'm literally admitting Metallica, who like. I really do like, of course, like that album should be lower. I definitely rated that out of a bias of it being a Metallica album. I should have rated that lower.
It was new, so
and so like it was unfamiliar. And I was like, okay, it sounds good enough. I guess I'll give it an 8 because I guess that's what good things sound like. No, I should have given it a 6 or 6.5 because it's good, but it's not that good.
And like a 6 is like a good, but it's like.
And then 7's like, okay, this was pretty good. 8's like, this was great. 9's like, holy hell, this was really great. And then 10's like, this is among my favorites. And 9.5 is like somewhere in between. I don't know.
Yeah,
Still no 9.5 or 10s for me this year.
Yeah, I think
To be fair, a lot of people have been saying, especially Fantano, that this year in music hasn't been very good. And to an extent, I agree because I've only had 2 9s and we're halfway
we
through
still have a lot
the
of
year.
time though.
I've given way more. I've given way more 8s than 9s though. Not that that's surprising or anything, but yeah.
I just feel like I have a lot of albums still to go through.
My best bet for album of the year, like the ones that could pass these albums for me, is Nothing But Thieves. Like everything they do is so good. Like
I'm still waiting. AWOL Nation, come on, please.
AWOL Nation and Nothing But Thieves for me literally have like a 50-50 chance for album of the year.
It should be very interesting. Yeah.
Like I could see either of those being my favorite album of the year. I don't even know if AWOL Nation is coming out with an album this year.
I hope so.
I've been like I've literally been like commenting on like a lot of their socials saying like when's the album coming out. Like I'm so desperate, but
I know.
Just give us the album. We've already released 2 singles and like nothing for a while. It's like
it will be interesting to see like overall like if this can be better than next year. Probably not. I feel like last year was
so
really
far.
stacked.
This album is my favorite of the year. Just barely ahead of Walk Around the Moon. But again, like I expect there to be albums late in the year. You know, there's a lot of albums I'm still looking forward to. Lots of albums from popular artists, but yeah.
Plus also like last year I feel like there was a lot of albums I didn't get around to. So like this year my goal is like listen to like all the things on my list and like try to get like as much of like an overall look at like the year.
It shouldn't be too difficult because obviously we're only rating albums that are either like popular enough to be rated, I guess.
Yeah,
or like it's a band we know or like. Yeah.
So it should be very interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, that was our review of the new Rival Sons album. You can probably expect this to be up like pretty soon. The day that we're doing this is June 10th. And yeah, so it should be out pretty soon after that, I expect. Also, the new Avenged Sevenfold album, we're going to try to we probably won't be able to record it this week because we have finals week.
Busy, yeah.
It's our busiest week of the year.
Yep.
It's going to be the most close to hell it's going to get. But we'll try to record it on the weekend, I assume, with probably both.
Summer, so.
It's probably going to be our first review of the year. Yeah, first review of the year probably with all 4 of us. Mariah, I know, wants to do this album. She couldn't do today's album. And I know also that Nick wants to do this album because he's already heard it and he's already going to write some thoughts down. I know me and Nick agree on this album, so I don't think we're going to disagree too much. I'm interested to hear what you're going to think on that.
I don't know yet.
But you haven't said anything positive about the few seconds of songs you've heard.
It's
you're like, what the fuck is this? Yeah.
Yeah. But stay tuned. Yeah. Like and subscribe to see what we post upcoming. If you have any suggestions, like albums.
Also, once the summer comes out, we're going to try to do as many like that are popular or like that we know and like.
It's just so fun to talk about music.
I love talking about albums, you know. Discography rankings are also pretty fun, but we haven't done one of those in a while.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But yeah, feel free to like and comment. Let us know your thoughts on this album, you know, if you've heard it, very interested. Also, let us know what albums like in the future that you're looking forward to coming out soon. There's a new Queens of the Stone Age album coming out on the 16th, which we might review because they're pretty popular and pretty good. And the 2 singles so far have both been pretty solid, so I'm interested to hear the whole project. But yeah, that was our review, so thanks for watching and peace out.
Yeah, and if you have like any other ideas besides like albums to review, anything music related you think would be interesting, make sure to let us know, and we might do it. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's the end of this review. Peace out.